Failure is important, and it is quite literally a part of every single thing we do in our life, whether that's something to do at school, at work, in extra activities that we do, in gaming, in creating art. We will fail, 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 and fail again until we get it right, until we do something right, until it works. And the most beautiful part about failing is that it allows us to discover ourselves. Because the more times we try, the more we learn about ourselves, the more we learn about how resilient we are and how willing we are, especially when it comes to trying again. Because at the end of the day, we have to try again. We can't just fail once and leave it, because for all you know, you could attempt something 3 times, and on the 4th one, you'll get it. And you was literally just 3 small little tries away from it working. Sometimes it might take 1,000 times, and you'll fail 1,000 times until you finally succeed. However, in all that time, you're going to be discovering about yourself, learning about yourself. Because failing allows you to do that. It allows you to try, learn, understand, and if it doesn't work, brilliant. You haven't really failed. You've learned a lesson. You've learned what not to do for next time. You've learned to change this or that. And that's what failing allows you. Failing gives you the opportunity to try again after something doesn't work. Because just because it doesn't work right now, it doesn't mean it won't work with some little adjustments. Failure is knowledge, and knowledge is success. And what do I mean by that? You might fail at something, but as you're failing, you're trialing, you are going through the whole process of trial and error, you're discovering about yourself, you are learning new skills, you are learning new information, and you might still fail at that, you might continue failing at something, you might continue to fail and fail and fail. However, every single time you failed, you have become a little bit better, a little bit more knowledgeable, a little bit more wise, and you might actually realize that what you're doing right now just isn't working. But the skills and the things you've acquired whilst going through the whole process of trial and error, you can now apply that to something else, which ends up working for you. So just because you fail at one thing, once, multiple times, however many times it may be, it doesn't mean you can't try something different and then succeed at that. Because after all, learning and trialing and failing at most things will create some form of transferable skill or knowledge, which can then be used and passed on in other subjects and areas of whatever it is that you do and your life in general. Because if you go and learn a new sport, let's say you learn basketball, you want to go learn basketball, you want to go play basketball because some of your friends do it and you want to get better at it, you are going to go participate. You might go to training, you might just go play with them outside in the court and just mess around. However, every single time you do, you're just going to get that little bit better, that little bit better. But then something happens and no one plays basketball anymore, but you found a new group of friends which are really into football. Even though both sports are very different, the things that your mind and your body learned by playing basketball, you'll be able to do in football now. Of course, you'll be able to throw the ball. That's not how it works. But the things that your body went through, your body adjusted to, you're now stronger, you're now quicker, your reflexes are better, you can think on your feet a little bit quicker. All those things can be transferred into football. And just because you used to play basketball with your old set of friends doesn't mean you can't go and play football with your new set of friends. And I believe that trial and error of anything and everything will have some sort of transferable skill that you'll be able to use in something different, even if it's completely different. Trying and failing brings you closer to where you want to be with every single time you fail. Because the whole idea is to fail forward, not backwards. Because every time you fail forward, you get that little bit better, a little bit better. And finally, one day, you'll stop failing as much. Then you'll stop failing less and less. Then the fails that you're doing will become smaller and smaller. And eventually, you'll barely ever fail at something, whatever that might be. Obviously, there are going to be times where, everything's not going to be perfect. That's just not possible and not sustainable. However, the amount of times you fail will be significantly less than when you started. Because, after all, it's fine to be bad at something, because the more times you do it, the better you're going to get. For example, you start a new job. They have a system you've never used before. You're going to be terrible at using it. You're going to be shocking. You're going to forget where everything is. You're not going to know how to do this, how to do that. You're going to ask for help. If you do it yourself, maybe you'll mess something up. Don't know. However, the whole idea is you're going to fail. And you will. That's normal. Failing, trial and error, just allows you to get better. And I believe that applies to pretty much almost anything you can think of right now. So going forward, fail. Because when you do, you get that little bit better. Let's move away from the word failure for a little while, and let's look at failure more as trying, because that is what you're doing. You're trying. You are trying to do something, you're trying to learn something new, you're trying to expand your knowledge, you are trying to be a better person in some way, and all of that can probably be described as discovery. And that discovery goes a very long way, because you are constantly discovering about yourself. And the more you discover about yourself, the closer you become with yourself, and the more you understand of what you want out of life. Because the more and the better you know yourself and about yourself, the more you know when to say yes, when to say no, what to do when and where and how, and you know which direction you want to go in. And all of that stems from the previous thing of trial and error. Because you've trialed and errored so much, you always work towards narrowing that path, narrowing your focus on the things that you actually want to focus on. A lot of people are afraid to try, but you shouldn't be, because if you are afraid of trying, the chances are you won't. And if you don't try, you are then not allowing yourself to discover and to see and to learn. And any kind of self-discovery and self-improvement and anything that you do that works on your passions, your goals, yourself, is going to allow you to fail better. Because when you fail better, that's when you actually look at the things that you've done, look at why, how, when, what, and then you start to analyze it and you start to learn from it. I believe this whole thing will always go back in full circle, how failure allows you to try, which allows you to learn, which allows you to discover, which allows you to expand. And of course, expanding yourself is never, ever a bad thing. Expanding your knowledge, your skills, your horizons is very important, and not just with the whole failing process. I believe it also applies to our entire lives. Expansion is important, because when you stop expanding, it can actually make you feel stuck, which can then have negative side effects and can actually make your productivity, your willingness to try, your discipline much lower and much worse than what it was before. Because when we feel stuck or we're not making any progress, we start to question, why do we bother? I've done this for so long, but I've just not seen any changes. What's the point in carrying on? But I think when you're at this point, when you're going down, eventually the only way is going to be bounce back up. And that will only be achieved by applying whole trial and error and just failing better and failing forward. And I believe that brings us to our next and final point, which is discipline. Failing teaches us discipline. It is an incredible teacher because whenever we fail, we have two choices. We try again, or we leave it. If we leave it, that's when we fail. That's when we truly fail. If we decide to try again, we fail better and we learn discipline, because trying again is not easy. Wanting to get up and try something that's difficult, that you're not very good at, that you're new at, is not easy. And not everybody is willing to do that. Not everybody is willing to get up and accept that they are terrible. And if you do, well, in my eyes, that's pretty big, because that's a very huge part of your process of developing and growing as a person. Discipline through trial and error. Once again, regardless of what it is that you're trying to achieve, of what it is that you're working on, you're going to start out bad. There's no other way to put it. We are bad when we first start. What we produce is low quality. Well, how we perform is not the best. But that's good, because through trial and error, through discovery, and through discipline, all of those things become better over time, bit by bit, day by day, and by the time we know it, we're the person that people are coming to. We're the person that people are asking, oh, how do I do this? Oh, have you got any tips for me on that? And I think through perseverance and discipline, that's the only way to get there. And I really do think that failure is one of the best teachers of discipline, purely because it gives you the choice and it leaves entirely in your hands whatever it is that you choose to do. So I wanted to choose wisely. I wanted to try, be terrible, fail better, and improve. And in time, you're going to get to where you want to get to. It doesn't matter what it is, it doesn't matter how long it'll take you. The most important thing is just enjoy the process there and know that with every single attempt, you are one step closer.